Hi everyone, I'm here again at Home Instead Senior Care on Route 19 in Meadville, and I'm using, of course, their office for some of our programs for my dog and me that we have that go also on Armstrong and are available on YouTube. And today I have a topic that I know absolutely nothing about. So this is going to be an experience not only for you that are watching, but for me, because I'm going to try and understand all this while we're here. With me today is Melanie Krneta, right?
Krneta.
Close. Okay. And you are a what?
I am a homeopath.
Homeopath, and you practice homeopath
On humans.
and there are some that we can use for pets.
Homeopathy is basically for anything that's living.
Okay.
It works the same.
Okay, tell me your background. Why are you doing this? Why did you pick homeopathic as a study?
Very good question. I went back and forth in my mind, but I've always looked for natural things. Going back to whenever I was a little kid, I got poison ivy and my dad fixed it with jewelweed. So I knew there was always something different. Then I moved out into the Edinburgh area and I needed a vet. So I contacted Dr. Heinert in Union City.
And he's a homeopath.
He is a homeopathic vet, but he's also a regular vet. So he does surgery and he can do the other medicines and things, but he is a homeopath. And I saw him do some amazing things with my animals that it just blew me away. So whenever I started looking for an alternative type of profession, I was weighing the balance between becoming an herbalist or a homeopath. And homeopathy just seemed to be the most logical choice, because even though most people don't have a clue what it is, it works so much better, because whenever you have an herbal medicine, you have to watch because it's on the same chemical level as a pharmaceutical medicine.
Okay.
So they could have interactions. You have to watch that one doesn't affect the other one. And they can also have side effects, both of those. The herbals can have side effects. You don't want to take something forever. The same as a pharmaceutical can have side effects. So whenever I was looking at homeopathy, homeopathy is more of a nanoparticle. It's more into the quantum physics realm of medicine, where you don't have the side effects. It acts more like a catalyst to help your body heal itself. So by matching the right remedy with the right living being, whether it's an animal or a human, it catapults your body into wanting to be better, because your body wants to be healthy. So whenever I chose a school, I wanted to do classical homeopathy.
Which means?
There's two different versions of homeopathy. There's American version, which Americans want everything fast.
Right.
We want to take a pill and we want to be better. We don't have to want to keep worrying about it. So the American homeopathy, if you look at the bottles, they'll for stress, they'll have 10 or 12 of the homeopathic remedies for stress. Classical homeopathy is more like one chosen remedy.
Okay, and which are you?
I'm a classical. So if you want to think about the difference, say you have a dartboard and you want to be able to make a bullseye. American homeopathy is you take a handful of darts and you throw it. Classical homeopathy is more like you take one and you really aim it. So that's what I wanted to do.
That's a good comparison. Very good. Yeah, right.
So my original background was criminal justice. So I love homeopathy because it's more of a delving into things. So that's the other reason why I like classical, because you look at all of the different symptoms, the sensations, how it caused it, if something happened before that could have been a catalyst to it. So the college that I went to is actually in the UK, the Allen College of Homeopathy. It's in Chelmsford, England. I didn't actually go there, but it was online, but it was real time. So I was taking my exams at 5 a.m. because it's 10 o'clock there. So I was actually in class via video link.
How many homeopathic people are there for dogs in this area besides Heinert? Dr.
He's
Heinert?
the only one that I know.
I've seen, when I looked online one time, I think I found them more a little bit west of here and south of here. I didn't find any that were I mean, he's pretty local for most of us.
Mm-hmm. He's a blessing.
Yeah, I know. And I know a few people that go to him that really, really believe in it. I know one person that's all they do is get their information from him.
He is so incredibly amazing. He just awes me.
Well, he's not here to answer my question. Maybe you know the answer. But can I go to another vet that isn't homeopathic and still go to him for the homeopathic, or go to you for homeopathic information for my pet?
Yes.
that was hesitant. You could, though. You could do both.
Yeah, you can do both. That's what's the beauty of homeopathy. Because you can take a pharmaceutical and you can take a homeopathic remedy at the same time. There won't be an interaction.
Okay, but now whenever you and I talked the first time, and we've talked several times since then, and I told you that my dog was on milk thistle for liver issues, but that's not homeopathic. And I know a lot of people that use milk thistle, but that's not homeopathic.
It is not. That's herbal.
Does that have more of a chance? Does an herbal remedy have more of a chance of having an adverse effect with other medicine than a homeopathic does? I would
Correct.
think so. Okay.
Yeah. Because
I'm getting pretty good. I'm learning pretty fast.
You're awesome.
I'm getting it. I'm getting it.
It makes sense whenever you start thinking about it, because if you look at it, a pharmaceutical drug is a chemical, and herbal is a chemical. The biggest issue with homeopathy is modern science doesn't understand it. They're starting to, though, because now we have the ability to see nanoparticles. And that's what homeopathy is. It's such a minute amount that it works. We don't need large amounts of things.
Is it a popular thing to use with pets?
It's very popular. In fact, King Charles, I have to remember to call him King Charles now.
Oh yes, King Charles.
He is actually a huge proponent. He has livestock, and that's all he uses on his animals are homeopathic remedies.
And if I had a situation, so how can you help me? I've got 4 dogs, and there are 2 that are 14 and a half, and one that's 11 and a half, and the 3-year-old now. But whenever they get older and they're starting to have difficulties or urinary issues or difficulty walking, which is the most classic, and then you buy Dasaquin and things like that, are there homeopathic things that would be better, or that would be as good, or may actually be better for a pet owner to use for their dog, as opposed to the usual ones that are given all the time by a vet? Can you center in more on my pet than just taking a bottle off the shelf and saying, use this? You can help me more with a particular situation that my dog has.
Most definitely. But you have to be, as the dog owner, more observant of your animal. Like for a urinary tract infection, you mentioned that. Are they having a problem dribbling? Does it burn whenever they go? Is there red sediment in it? Those are things that would lead me to one remedy or another, because you said that you looked up homeopathy online. There are hundreds and hundreds of remedies, and a lot of them work on the same issue. So I have to be able to tell which remedy your pet needs.
Well, you know, it's funny, I always talk about this just with our pets in general, that they say, I went to the vet's office and I ended up paying $500 for the thing they wanted to do this, this, and this. And I always turn to my friends and I say, what made you think you shouldn't be proactive? You've got to be proactive with every veterinarian, because otherwise they are looking at you as you're coming in the door, you've got a problem with your pet, I'll give them this one, this one, this one, which they probably gave to the last pet also, and then to the next pet on the line. But you can help a person be more specific as to a particular issue with a dog or a cat than maybe a vet can do. And we're certainly not denying the work that a vet does.
Correct.
And we're not negating it and saying it shouldn't be done or anything like that. But you would give me an option of using something other than the catch-all that they take off the shelf and give to the last 15 dogs in the door.
Exactly. I have an example. My horse went down.
Okay.
Totally flat in his stall, and he's a Hoover. He loves to eat. I put carrots at his nose. He didn't want them. I knew there was a problem. I called the large animal vet. It was going to take her 15 minutes to get to my house. She thought it was colic. So as a homeopath, I gave our #1 remedy, Nux vomica, to him. I mixed them up, syringed it into his mouth. And I'm also a Reiki master, which we won't even bother getting into that right now.
We'll talk about that sometime too. A lot of people believe in that for their pets too.
It's very, very amazing. It's actually in a lot of hospitals right now. People, Mayo, Cleveland, they're all using Reiki. But
we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that with another program later on, because I know people that believe in that too.
So
but anyways, going back to the
Max, my horse, syringed it into his mouth, did some Reiki. Within 10 minutes, he was eating those carrots. By the time the vet got there in 15 minutes, he was eating hay, and she couldn't find anything wrong with him.
Are there basic homeopathic, if I wanted to turn towards homeopathic, because as I said, I'm the person who's got the 14-and-a-half-year-old, 2 of them, and it's to the point now that I could almost strangle them, because the issues I'm having now are not the simple issues. They are so compounded by their age and all the other things that are entering into their basic care. And it gets to the point that you go crazy trying to come up with something as a solution. Is there, can you give, or is it possible for you as a homeopathic person to give or to suggest to somebody, these are the 5 best homeopathic that your dog has a chance to start on and have some success? Or do I have to go through and decide the classical approach and just find the one? Because that takes time.
If you see a qualified homeopathic vet, it won't take that long.
What if I find a classical homeopathic person that I'm sitting talking to now? Because you're not a vet. Can you do that for people that have questions on homeopathic care?
As a homeopath for humans, it's a lot harder for me because I don't recognize some of the symptoms that a vet would. Like when I had a rooster that had a stroke.
You told me that.
I'm in a panic because I have a prize rooster that's like flopped over and he's on his back, and I'm freaking out. So I called and I took him up to see Dr. Heinrich within 3 weeks. This rooster had a stroke. That's why he couldn't stand. His left eye was shut, his left wing drooped, and Dr. Heinrich picked it up just like that. So as a homeopath for humans, I couldn't talk to the rooster, which is what I do for people.
Sure, that was my question before whenever we ask about the urine and things like that. Is there a burning sensation? How do I say to Tyler, Tyler, when you're peeing in my backyard, are you getting a burning sensation? I don't think I'm going to get much of a response.
That's why you see a homeopathic vet. They are so much more well-trained in picking up those kind of things in an animal.
Well, I contacted you because, now the milk thistle is herbal? Herbal. What about the other one that I got from you, the calms?
That is homeopathic, but that is also American. American homeopathy
okay, gotcha.
is throw the dart, because that works well, because we can't ask your dog all the symptoms.
He talks to me a lot, but he doesn't quite talk in any manner that I understand, except for to bark and get me to do what he wants.
I have a Doberman. She talks all the time.
I know. Well, okay, so let's go back. So the rooster, we know about the horse, and we know about the rooster. Why would you encourage someone or a pet owner to at least be aware of homeopathic and the classical or the American? I mean, I want the quick answer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I don't have the time to.
You're American.
I don't have the time to throw the darts. So, what would be some reason that I would go to a homeopathic vet, or I would, like I contacted you, and it certainly helped me out with my situation with the one dog. I need to be, people need to be educated towards it, I guess.
Yeah, homeopathy used to be huge. There were over 100 homeopathic hospitals and over 1,000 homeopathic physicians not that long ago. But it's been kind of replaced by allopathic medicine, which is actually a term Samuel Hahnemann, who discovered homeopathy, coined. But I think the best way for somebody to get into homeopathy, number one, talk to a homeopathic vet, but have an emergency kit on hand, because you never know when there's going to be emergency with a pet. They could run out into the road and, God forbid, get hit by a car. It can help you buy some time to be able to get to a regular vet even.
What's in a homeopathic first aid kit for a dog?
The same things that would be in the homeopathic first aid kit for a human. They're
Really?
both the same. They work on living beings. So say you got hit by a car, your dog got hit by a car. First thing I would think of is arnica montana in a low potency. Animals are more respondent to lower potencies than humans,
Yeah.
because
They're smaller, too.
they're more willing. We have all these emotional things that people go through that animals don't have, and homeopathy works with emotions too. So as arnica, you could syringe it into the dog and then get the dog to the vet. It can help with the trauma that the dog is feeling in the meantime.
What's the one that they often have to calm animals down? It's not violet. Geez, I
Oh, the rescue remedy?
No, just in general. Gosh, I can't remember. For dogs that have problems with thunder and lightning and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be, you're putting me on the spot
Oh,
right
I know
now.
I am, but I'm glad you're on the spot and not me then. But we'll think about that one.
Yeah.
But going back to this kid, so let's say, well, I went online. So I'm going through, here's what I put into my search. Give me a list. I didn't want to see all the different bottles of homeopathic. I wanted a list, thinking it would be simple, of homeopathic medicine for pets. Do you know how many were on that bottles? How many bottles? There had to probably be close to 60. 60 or 70. Now, how would I, as a person, know what in God's name to do? I wouldn't be able to pick that. So we shouldn't do that?
You can find a good homeopathic first aid book for dogs, or for dogs. They have them for cats. And
I
they
saw
actually
that.
work for both. I mean, if you look up a remedy for a human, it will also work like with the arnica. If I'm in a car accident, the first thing I'm going to do is go for arnica. It calms the nerves. It relaxes your body. For concussions, it's amazing. But there's a few different remedies. If you just want to start out with a few small remedies, you can get ledum, which is excellent for puncture wounds. That's what I would give, say your dog got a tick, and you pull the tick out, you're worried about Lyme disease, right? So if you give ledum, it pulls out the toxins. It's also good for an abscess. If your cat or something has a scratch and it abscesses, it will heal it from the inside out.
I have a feeling I'm going to make you laugh now. I have a feeling I'm listening. I watch National Geo Wild. And my favorite show on National Geo Wild, which makes people laugh, is The Incredible Dr. Pol. I watch him all the time. And I swear to God, he does this stuff. Because he has a lot of remedies that he uses and stuff like that. And being the fact that he's originally from England, isn't he? Or Ireland, or Scotland, someplace over there.
Yeah.
But he seems to use some of those things too, with different conditions that come along. Well, so I could go online, I could get a homeopathic book for first aid for a dog. Step number one.
Step one.
And then I could read that and get some idea of what I could possibly use for my dog. Now, we're talking about going back to poor Dr. Heinert, who's not here, but he's only one vet. Not all of us listening to this can go to Dr. Heinert. We would need 100 of him around. So I can do myself by going into the basic book on it.
You can.
And then I can either contact him or contact you or contact somebody that does, and then you could say, yes, I could do something for you, or you would say, nah, you need to go see a vet or whatever. How do we do this? I'm missing a step in between here.
You might need to edit this out if you want a correct answer.
No, I want the correct answer.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a law in Pennsylvania, it's called the Pennsylvania Veterinary Act, that prohibits me from working on other people's animals.
Really? You told me that. We talked about that at some point. Whenever
Yeah.
I first found you, and we found each other because we were mutually in the same organization many years ago.
Legally, I am not allowed to work on an animal.
Is working on an animal also giving medicine for an animal? You really can't give medicine
I'm not allowed unless I'm under the supervision of a licensed vet.
So you could I go to my vet and say, I want to get a certain homeopathy, I'm not trying to mix up here, I'm just trying to get some answers. So if I went to my vet, I had a vet that believed in a lot of this at one point. That vet is no longer in this area. And I could say, but what do you think if I use this? I could say, well, could I go and get it from you or a homeopathic, the classical, as opposed to the American? I've got that now. But this is bothersome to me because this is out there, and I think there's something to be said about it. I think it's got a lot of benefits. And what is there, 25,000 dogs in Crawford County alone? Okay, let's think how many are in the state of Pennsylvania. There are a lot of people that could learn a lot. So the first step would be, again, to go to the book and start educating myself on the very, very basics.
Correct.
Then try it on my vet and say, what if I tried this?
Correct.
You know, it's funny, we talk about trying something. I had a dog that always carried high numbers every time I did blood work. And I had rescued the dog and all that. And whenever I got the next dog, we always laughed about that at the vet's office. Every number was too high in the scale. So I said, okay, when I get that puppy dog on it, we're going to bring him here and we're going to blood test him right away so we have a baseline. I believe 100% in baseline blood work for every dog. Every pet you get, you should get a baseline so that you have something to go with. So I go to get him neutered, and I think it was his ALT, Melanie, and I could be confused. I think it was the ALT, should be like a 200. And it went up and up and up and up, and it was up to 2,400, the number. And the doctor at the time says, we should do surgery on that. And I says, nah, I'm not into that. I said, he's only this big. It was my little Shih Tzu. And he said, you could go over to Cleveland and get a needle biopsy. So it sounds like a plan to me. So off to Cleveland I went, spent a lot of money, got him back. And when the doctor suggested a medicine that I should use for my Shih Tzu, I said, what about milk thistle? And she said, I'm telling you, a lot of people believe in it. You ought to give it a shot. And she was a professional veterinarian and a specialist over in Cleveland. And she said, I would give it a shot before you try something else, because I think you've got a good chance there. That number went from 2,400 over a period of probably 6 or 7 or 8 months down to where it needed to be at 200. And it remained there all his life, and he's now 14 and a half, and he's still on milk thistle. So it was an example of a veterinarian who saw the benefits of something other than the pill that they wanted me to give him every day, which who knows, it would have worked as well. But I wish we had more veterinarians that were willing to consider the additional option to what they can just take off the shelf.
I do too.
And I don't know that that's ever going to happen, because taking it off the shelf is fast and quick, and I want a quick remedy for my dog.
It's also a lot of money.
It is, and that's true too. Is homeopathic medicine cheaper?
Much.
Much cheaper. So if we were to suggest to everybody that's watching this, step number 1 is to get that book.
To get a good first aid book for animals.
And start reading about it and see.
Read about it. And then Washington Pharmaceuticals is a homeopathic pharmaceutical place in, I believe it's in DC or Maryland area. If you go online, they have emergency kits.
And that's what you were saying before. So I should really consider getting an emergency kit.
You should.
How much are they?
Depending on how many remedies you want, you can get one for under $100. And it would have a lot of remedies in it. And this is what a remedy actually looks like. You don't want to touch them because they are energy. So
that was like a whole bunch of little pieces of salt.
they're about
salt.
the size of a poppy seed.
Yeah.
Uh-oh,
the last one. I'm going to pick it up and I'll have all this additional energy.
That's okay. But what you would basically do is you would pour one of these into a bottle of, I like to ask people to get spring water, because if you use city water, there's a lot of chemicals into it. So I basically try to get people to use spring water.
Or well water?
Well water's fine. Anything that's not city with all the chemicals, the fluorides and chlorines and all that happy stuff. You put one of those pellets into a bottle and make sure.
Wait, one of those little tiny pellets in there? There has to be probably 200 in there.
There's probably 1,000 in
Do you
there.
think there's 1,000? Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I just need one.
You just need one. That's why whenever you get your kit, the bottles will be little.
I'm going to think I'm not getting my money's worth.
One vet trip that thing saves you, you've got your money's worth.
Huh.
You don't need that many. This is professional. I get these because I go through a lot. I didn't probably need this many of this, but I ordered it. This one is from a pharmacy in England.
Wow.
I like the pharmacies out of the country. Homeopathy is huge everywhere else in the world.
But here.
But here.
Is it because of the laws, and is it because of the restrictions that would be put on something in the United States as opposed to other countries?
Well, 100 years ago, homeopathy is about 200 years old. So 100 years ago, it was actually taught in medical colleges. There were homeopaths signing medical doctors' diplomas. Homeopathy was the very first medical association in the United States. There's a statue of Samuel Hahnemann who discovered homeopathy in DC.
Oh, wow.
Then the AMA came and they said, we don't want you having homeopaths signing our doctors' diplomas.
Sure.
And then they said that we don't want our doctors referring to a homeopath. So there became a divide.
Do you have people that are your what do you call it, your patients, your clients? So people call you if they decide that they want to try the homeopathic approach. Let's say I'm diagnosed with the worst we always think of as cancer, but with something else, then they can go to a homeopathic person and possibly find a solution somewhere.
Possibly.
And that's the service that's your number one service that you provide.
That's what I went to college for. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but it's so gratifying. And every time I give one of those things out in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's no way this is going to work. And then it does.
It does. Huh. And how, I want to continue my conversation, but how do they get in touch with you if people are interested in anything that we've said here, especially from the human point of view?
I have a Facebook page. I just got hacked in May, so I lost everything
and we
on
all
there.
Get hacked.
Kind of got me depressed. But they can call me. Do you want me to give my phone number?
No, well, they can, or we can actually put it on my Facebook page too, or
Okay.
however. But yeah, you can. I think you can put your phone number on if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's 814-428-9895.
One more time,
814-428-9895.
Okay, if they want to get in touch with you. And as far as our pets are concerned, we're talking about getting the book, First Aid, Homeopathic First Aid, and we're also talking about getting the First Aid Kit, Homeopathic First Aid Kit for our dogs.
Which you can also use for yourself too. There'll probably be homeopathic remedies in there like hypericum. Hypericum is one for nerve endings, so if your dog gets its foot smashed or if you smash your fingers in the car, hypericum. Ledum is if you have the puncture wound, abscesses. You can use calendula. Washington Pharmaceuticals has an amazing salve. It's a homeopathic salve made out of calendula that if you put it on any type of a surface wound, heals it. I have a friend who had cancer and was getting burns from radiation. They had to stop the radiation, which you could also use on your dog. So they put this salve on, and within 2 days it was healed.
What was the story you told me before we started to film about the lump on the side of the face of something?
Sweeney. One of my best friends, she has, I don't even know how old Sweeney is, 16, 17, I don't know. She's very, very old.
Yes.
And she has had this lump on the side of her face that it was not cancerous, but it bothered her so much because she's so old, the vets didn't want to put her through surgery, so she was scratching at this thing. So I went with my friend to see Dr. Heinert, and he was working on some other issues with Sweeney. And I asked him, it's like, the homeopathic remedy that I had, Thuya, was not working on this lump. So I asked him, can I make a salve out of it? He's like, well, if you know what the plant is, sure. So the plant is arborvitae. People have it growing all over the place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I went into my friend's backyard and I picked some off and I showed her how to make a salve out of it because I love herbal things too. So we made a salve and she started putting it on it. We weren't sure how much to use, so she started just smearing it all over. Way too much. Sweeney lost all of her hair on her face and everything. But the lump started going down. So she slowed down on putting it on, but the lump kept going away. So at this point right now, she was just putting, just with a Q-tip, just a little dab on the top of the lump. There's no lump anymore. Totally got rid of it. And then Sweeney also had an issue with yeast on her skin. So I gave her a homeopathic remedy called creosotum, and that pretty much got rid of the yeast infection.
I think so many times I've seen so many dogs, I've seen silver labs is the one I can think of most often, and some other ones that end up with allergies to food or a lot of rashes and stuff like that. I have been very fortunate, knock on wood, I've never had that with my dogs. But a lot of people deal with that and they start with one food, then they go to the second type of food, the third type of food, and everything to find a solution. I would think in some situations that might be something that the homeopathics would possibly be helpful for with dogs with skin conditions and something like that. Something that you see. To me, it's easier to treat something that you see rather than something inside or stuff like that.
Yeah, especially like grass. A lot of dogs are allergic to grass. I actually have a homeopathic remedy made out of grass because as homeopathy works, like will cure like. So if it causes it in a homeopathic remedy, it will cure it. I'm not allowed to say cure word, sorry.
Well, I was just talking to someone yesterday. We were talking about a particular product that is given to a lot of dogs for the terrible itching and scratching or eating of the paws or licking of the paws or licking the feet, constantly. And we all have used it on our dogs, but the person said to me, I'm going to go and find out about homeopathic or something or whichever it was, because she said, I'm just not convinced that the long-term use of this is a good idea. And I'll have to ask her what she has found out, because she said it was a product that everybody used called Apoquel. And that's one that they use for dogs that have any type of itching. But that's something that probably would do better if there was something else that they could use, because that's going into the system. And anything going into the system is not always a good idea.
That's actually what Sweeney was on. And that made everything worse.
It does, and that doesn't work for a lot of dogs. I had success with one of my dogs with it, but it isn't all the same too. And these breeds now have become so complicated because we've combined 10 breeds together to get the one that now it's a designer dog that you spend $5,000 for because it does something that no other dog can do. I would think a lot of the homeopathic would maybe help with some of those.
Homeopathy is amazing for so many issues. It's even good for emotional issues. Like that licking could form a habit. So it can help break the habit.
The one I thought about before was lavender. The use of lavender, is that homeopathic?
That's herbal.
That's herbal. A lot of people really believe in that. And I go into one of the offices whenever I'm doing pet therapy work, and they have it going in some type of a smoky thing that's constantly going in the back, and they really believe it. And a lot of people use that lavender on dogs that have issues with thunder and anxiety and stuff like that. That's been a very popular thing. Or, in fact, I even have a little bottle about that big that I bought one time. I was supposed to just take a drop of that and put it, I want to say under the tongue, or maybe it was on the paws, or maybe it was someplace. And then I ended up not using that. I think I used a thunder shirt.
That would have been an essential oil.
It was.
And you have to really watch. Dogs aren't as susceptible to the toxicity of essential oils as cats are. You have to be really careful with cats and essential oils.
Okay, here's my question. Is essential oils homeopathic?
No.
Or what's the other one? Herbal.
No,
It's in a
it
little
would more be
category all its
considered
own?
an herbal. What they're doing is they're squeezing the oils out of the plant
And
to
making it
get
the essential oil.
essential oil. So it is more herbal, but it's not homeopathic. But you really have to be careful because, especially with cats, they can cause major issues.
So the three basic categories then would be homeopathic, herbal, or the oils too. That's another one that people sometimes use. A lot of people use it on their dogs.
Dogs aren't as bad. They have a different metabolism.
Oh,
Cats
yeah.
have a very high metabolism, and you have to be really careful with them.
So now that we've talked about all this, and I'm totally confused.
Aw.
No, I'm not. I really caught up on some of it. I think
I thought you were doing good.
I get pretty good at it sometimes, and I forget. But anyways, what are the 5 most important things we want people to know whenever they watch this? And whenever they're all done, what do you want them to know?
I want them to know that homeopathy is a vital form of healing that works really well with all living life forms.
Okay, so we can't necessarily get with Heinrich because he is busy, I know. But we could start by getting the book. We could start, and that book is called again what?
First aid for dogs.
First aid for homeopathic. First aid for dogs.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can Google them. I buy a lot of books on thrift books. They're used. That's actually where this one came from.
Yeah, I do that sometimes too. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing would be what? So that's number 1. I have to educate myself.
Contacting a homeopathic pharmacy for an emergency kit.
And I can find those online, homeopathic pharmacy.
Washington Pharmaceuticals, they have them, and there's another one. Oh, my brain just
Well,
went
if I
dead.
put in homeopathic first aid kit, they'll probably give me several choices. But you're saying the one out of the Washington.
Washington Pharmaceuticals is good. You could probably even get one on Amazon.
Probably, you can get almost anything there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's number 2. That's the 2 most important things. What else do you want me to know as a dog owner?
Familiarize yourself with the remedies so that in an emergency, you automatically know what one to give. You're not going to read the book.
Well, you know, it's funny because as I went on that last night and I'm going through all these bottles on this screen, I'm thinking, okay, now which one should I pick? Should I pick the most expensive? Should I pick this one? Should I pick the one that has the prettiest label on it? I mean, it's all a game in your head as to which one you're going to pick. And as I said, there had to be, Melanie, everything I tried. Give me the list and this. I didn't get a list, I just got all the bottles. But I just don't want anybody to think that they should just be going on to their search engine and bring up homeopathic and then just arbitrarily pick something. That's not a very good idea.
Correct. That's why I would go to Washington Pharmaceuticals, because that's what they do. They have homeopathic remedies that they're made well.
And you can get stuff for pets there.
It works on either. So if you have a homeopathic first aid kit, you can use it, your horse can use it, your dog can use it, anybody can use it. Homeopathy is so safe. It's safe for babies and elderly.
Do you know what? It's too bad that somebody doesn't do something with that. Because I'll bet, just knowing the millions of pet owners that I know, and God knows I know more than, I sometimes think I know many more than 1 million.
Wow.
Boy, if somebody did a class in that,
I would love to.
on homeopathic, I'll bet you money you could get people to sign up for that in a heartbeat.
I actually did a class for homeopathic remedies for pets, and I had 2 people.
Wasn't promoted the right way. We'll have
I'm
to
not good at this online stuff.
Well, you know what? That would be interesting to do because I think a lot of people would be interested in that. I think they want to know. I think they really do want to know. And a lot of our dogs, another class, well, that's sweet. I'll come back to my other question. What's the 4th thing you wanted to do? Do you think of anything else? Just
Look at symptoms of your dog.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because that's going to be the leading choice to your remedy. Is your dog restless? Mm-hmm. I had a dog go through a rescue one time, and the vets weren't helping, so my friend contacted me. She runs the rescue. It was a German Shepherd, and as soon as the dog drank water, and immediately threw up the water. As soon as it ate anything, it immediately had diarrhea, and this dog was extremely restless. Those 3 things told me it needed arsenicum. Within hours of taking this remedy, the dog was feeling better. He's living a wonderful life in Long Island.
My friend just went to Dr. Heinert with a German Shepherd issue, or no, not German Shepherd, Great Pyrenees issue from a rescue dog that needed some help. And they went up there to see him.
Yeah, but you need to see the symptoms. Like I was saying before, you know, like with a urinary tract, is the dog dribbling after? There's things that you can look.
Mm-hmm. People really need to do that. I was talking to a veterinarian the other day about my 14-and-a-half-year-old, and I said, boy, he's really limping. And at 14 and a half, I'm not really into spending a lot of money because I don't know how long he's going to live or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what? I took a video of him walking through the house. And the vet said to me, send it to me and let me see what you're seeing, because if I go to the vet, he's not going to do that.
Right.
And you also find out, I had a dog one time that had issues with seizures. And I kept track of what time the seizures started, how long it lasted, and every conceivable thing. And people need to do that with their dogs and their pets. They need to write everything down and try. And so when you go to the vet, you're not guessing, well, how often does a dog do this, and what does it look like in this, that, or whatever. You've got that with you. Again, that's back to being the proactive pet owner who takes the time to do that. Wish we could get everybody to do that.
That would be really nice, but I don't think people are very observant anymore.
No, well, they don't have time.
They're on their phones all the time.
And we don't have time, and then some of our dogs are home alone all day. So who knows what's happening. I know people, though, that have the cameras in their homes so they can watch what the dog's doing. There's something to be said, that's a good idea. And then you can kind of see what's happening. But we don't, we're just caught up on the treadmill 24 hours a day and not getting anything done. Well, maybe we'll, tell me one more quick thing. We've talked about homeopathic, and I'm certainly going to be talking about this to people that I know. What's the other one? Reiki? Reiki. What's Reiki? Tell us real quick.
Reiki is...
This might be a preliminary to another one we're going to do. Can you do Reiki on pets?
I have done Reiki on pets. In fact, I just did for Precious Paws down in Franklin, a Reiki in the park. And there was a dog there that they rescued from Texas that had heartworm. They gave all the medicines and everything. The heartworm was gone, but it had symptoms. Every time it drank, it gagged, or whenever it got anxious, it gagged. And I did Reiki, and that dog is not gagging anymore.
Are you permitted by a Pennsylvania license to practice Reiki?
Not on animals.
Not on animals.
I can't do anything. In fact, this rescue, I have a homeopathic remedy for feline AIDS and leukemia and heartworm. They've got a couple of cats down there that are feline positive.
Sure.
And I'm waiting for the vet to get back because I want to work under her so that it can be documented and we'll know when and how it's gone.
So who does that? That Reiki on pets?
We'll do it on the side.
We could do it. Yeah, I'd like to do that just to see how it works.
Yeah. So Reiki, basically, it's a Japanese form of healing. Rei means universal. Ki means life. So anything that has a life force energy. So it's all energy related, what I do. So if you think about us, we're all made out of energy. There's protons, neutrons, electrons. Animals too. So if you transfer that into how you think about energy, into like your electric system coming into your house, we have a power source, our creator. We have Penelec or whoever is your electric provider bringing it into a box. We have chakras, there's breakers. So if one of your breakers is not working, you go to plug something in, it's not going to work. So if you have a chakra that's out of balance, then whatever that chakra is for, it's not going to work. And then the other thing that we have on our breaker box that people don't realize, pets do it much more, but we have a grounding rod outside. Electricity needs to be grounded. Ever since the Industrial Revolution, We've not been walking on natural surfaces. Shoes, the soles used to be leather, which connected to the earth. Now we're rubber. What does rubber do? It insulates.
Sure.
So we're not walking on the earth, which is where we get our grounding.
There's so much to learn and not enough time to do it. That's the
Whenever I was in elementary school, I got a joke and riddle book, and the one riddle stuck with me my whole life. What's the largest room in the world?
I don't know. What is it?
Room for improvement.
Room for improvement. Good one. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. I hope everybody learned this. Give us your telephone number one more time.
Try not to mess it up. 814-428-9895. I'm Homeopathy Plus.
Okay. And do you have, and what is your Facebook page?
Homeopathy Plus by Melanie Krneta.
Okay, well, they can get all that, hopefully, and our cameraman who remembers all these things, he'll get that out for us. So thanks very much for coming, and maybe we'll consider something else.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, it was good. Thank you.